Okay, let's get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Tim Begonis. I'm the CMO and here at D-Tools, and with me is Seth Enos, Product Manager for System Integrator. And we thank you for taking time out of your day to join us to see what's new in SI version 19. So if you've done a webinar with us, it's pretty easy. We're going to present, and you guys get to use your questions box to answer questions. We will try and answer as many questions as we can during the presentation, but don't worry if your question is not answered. We will have dedicated time for Q&A at the end. And with your little control panel, if you click the little arrow, it'll remove the control panel to the right, and you'll have a little bit more room to view the content. So a little bit about what we'll cover today. We'll do just a brief overview of D-Tools and SI for those of you who may not be familiar. Seth's going to do a demo of the new features in SI version 19, and then we will do Q&A at the end, all through the questions window. So place your questions in there. Any questions that I don't get to during the presentation, we'll get to at the end. And yes, this webinar will be recorded and distributed to everyone after the webinar. Okay, so a little bit about D-Tools. We've been in business since 1998. We started primarily in the residential AV space, have grown to commercial AV, serve the commercial security and IT markets. And we were started by a system integrator. Adam Stone was our founder, and he pioneered a way to tie his drawings to his equipment lists, and then realized that he had a really good tool that he could provide to the industry to help other people do their job better. And since then, we've grown to over 7,000 companies that use us in over 80 countries. And you know, we are always trying to continue to build on our solution. This is version 19, and we typically do about 3 releases per year. And we are, very happy to present this newest version to you. So System Integrator really is an end-to-end solution that helps you manage all aspects of your day-to-day business, from your sales management through generating proposals. And what we do is we tie your bill of materials to all project documentation. SI is truly a data-driven application, which means everything in our software is powered by product information. So product data that you will use to build your bill of materials. You can assign products to locations. You can assign products to systems. You can create packages with accessories. And the things that we're tracking are all the things that you need really to be able to specify, design, and ultimately sell and install the system. We're tracking things in our database from manufacturer model number, category, all the way down to product specifications such as dimensions, watts, amps, all the way down to the inputs and outputs. And then the other thing that we're tracking that is kind of unique to us is we're tracking actual install time so that you can assign labor rates. And what this really means is as you're adding products to your project, we're calculating the estimated install time and applying your labor rates to the cost and price of the products, so that as you're kind of building your bill of materials, we're calculating an estimated install price. And then from there, once it's in the bill of materials, we can generate all project documentation, so all your client-facing documentation, such as proposals, contracts, scope of work. We can generate that, and then that information is also available via Visio and AutoCAD, so we can do detailed engineering drawings. drawings. So using the same information that's in your project file, we can generate line diagrams, elevations, plan views, and schematics, all the way down to connecting the system within the drawing, and then generating reports from that drawing. So wire checklists, wire schedules, even generate wire labels for the entire job from those drawings. And because we're assigning products to location, we're assigning products to systems, we're using project phases, and we have the estimated install hours, you can then schedule out installation tasks to your field techs. You can generate purchase orders. You can do all of the post-sales management through the system. We have a very robust change order system. So basically everything from the sale, the engineering, the documentation, the install through service can be managed through our system. You can generate service plans, you can manage service orders and manage those hours against the plan. And then we integrate with a number of third-party solutions, some out of the box, such as our integration with QuickBooks. And then we have a number of detailed API integrations with other third-party systems. And then we have a robust business intelligence engine that enables you to really track KPIs across your business. So let's get into some of the new features here in version 19. As with all of our new releases, we really focus on adding new capabilities and enhancements requested by you, our users, and what's most important to you. So some of the cool things that we have in this version, we are integrating with QuickBooks Time, formerly T-Sheets. So you can import your timesheets from QuickBooks Time and have those hours associated with your projects, which helps job costing and management. We've improved the purchase order process and added new capabilities, including the ability to create POs from service orders, which has been a highly requested feature. We have a power over Ethernet calculator, which really helps improve accuracy on those types of projects where you're trying to really determine available power and ports for your products. We've made enhancements to mobile install, chief among those, the ability to display accessories, making it easier for technicians to find the right product in the field. We've made some improvements to our change order reporting, including change order history, different views, so you can view pending, accepted, rejected. And then, as with every single one of our releases, a number of productivity enhancements and improvements that make your day-to-day experience hopefully easier and save you some time. So I'd like to hand it over to Seth, who's going to do a demo of the new features for you.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Seth Enos, and I'm the product manager for System Integrator. And I'm going to show you the new features that we've added or enhanced for version 19, v19 of System Integrator. So we've got quite a list here. We'll start with one of the newest feature that we have, that is we haven't done anything quite like this before, and that's going to be the power over Ethernet, the PoE calculator. It's a view inside of the project editor, and we've added a bunch of new fields to products to just help you when you're designing systems. So let's go ahead and start there. We'll go ahead and actually, maybe before I do that, I will pull up this because I forgot to, is show you that we do have our release notes out live on our support site. The recording of this webinar will be embedded here either later tonight or tomorrow sometime, depending on when it gets edited and produced. But here is all the documentation. You can see there are links to other parts of our documentation for all of these features, but I did want to point that out. So this is what we will be going through today. So we'll start with a project here, and I'm going to just grab this one here that we've set up for this. And so basically what I had is a project already open. This is the project editor, and we've added a new view here under the view dropdown for PoE, for power over Ethernet. So when you click that, we'll just go here and I'll auto fit all the columns for you. So this is the fields that we're showing here, but this is a view of the products that are in this project that are either associated as a PSE, a power source equipment, or a PD, a powered device. And those are new settings on our products. So obviously not every item will be a PSE or a PD, but for devices that are powered or those that are providing power, you can set them up and then set their PoE standards. And so that's what I'm going to show here. But what you're seeing now is a view of the associations. So just to describe this, at the top we have one of our PSEs that if you see by the type column here, and just like we do with accessories and a lot of things with collapse and expand, beneath that or associated to it are these PDs. Also in this list are 3 other PSEs and 3 other PDs that are not associated yet. And so what this is calculating is your power budget and your your port utilization and your class utilization for a PSE as you connect the power devices. So it will tell you, do you have enough power, not only on the device to power this piece of equipment, but on the port that you've chosen. So it all goes all the way down to the port level. So that's what you're seeing here in this view. Let's take a look at a PSE. So I'm going to double click one of these. And here we have somewhere. Oops, let me drag it over to this screen. This is our PSE that just opened. It's a switcher. So if we go here to the specifications, this is the part that we've added new for v19. Is all equipment by default is none, but you are able to set it as a PSE, which will open up some fields here, or a PD, a powered device. And I'll show you one of those in just a second. When you do mark an item as a PSE, you're required to put a power budget in here. So we know how much power this device has available to it. Now, the available ports here is a read-only field that is reading your PoE ports. So that's another new concept in the software as well, is which ports actually provide power. So once an item here is marked as a PSE, when you go to the IOs column on the outputs, you'll see a PoE standard. And this is a drop down of all the standards. Just go up here. There's none, passive PoE, and then you can just see here, down here, listing their wattage. So you will want to set those up for your PSE devices. While we're here, just so you see, one other field that we added over here is this. We now have a port identifier, a port ID, as we call it. Now, it does have a title up here, but this is your port ID, and that's very important here to know, again, when you're working with PSEs, which port is actually supporting that device. And of course, these technically could have different PoE standards on here. So those are so again, this is a required field here, the power budget. Now, when you set up a PD, a power device, I'll just open this. Say, for instance, here's a camera. When you go to the specifications and you set it up as a PD, what you're required to set here is a minimum PoE class. And again, there's your list for this. So once you set your minimum PoE class, you also will need to have a watts value here before you can save this item. Now, if this is blank, if this is 0, I should say, if you have 0 watts on a device and you set a standard, say here to PoE plus 60 watts, once you save the device, we'll set the watts to 60. We'll always just go to the maximum. Now, it's up to you to make sure that that date is accurate, obviously. If the device doesn't fully take 60 watts to power it, but that is its minimum PoE class, you might want to put in the actual watts here so you have more accurate calculations. So really, with that information, we can associate PDs to PSEs, and then again calculate your port utilization and class utilization on the device. So to show that, I can select a PSE. Here's one that's already has associations to it, and I can see that I do have available power still, and I can hit the associate button. So this is on the tools tab. You can also right click to get there, but I can associate the only other 3 PDs that are not associated. Now, if I wanted to break an association, technically I could from another PSE by showing everything, but I can pick this device. We'll hit associate, and when you hit associate, you are now going to pick the port. And so as you can see here, we have the port IDs, and we're showing you the PoE standard, and these standards have to be or have enough power on that, or we'll warn you. We'll prompt you to say, nope, that's not going to power this device. So we'll just select one. Now that's been added. You can see it's removed from the list down here and it's been associated here. So this will help you as you're designing your power over Ethernet systems to make sure that you have enough power going to each PSE. I do want to show you one of the prompts here. Now I purposely set this PSE up wrong, where I set its power budget to only 7 watts instead of the 250. And I'm going to try to connect one of these devices. So let's just show a problem. So this requires 7.5 watts. If I hit associate, it says, okay, well, what port do you want on this? All of my ports are available. I can choose this, hit OK, and it says the chosen PD will exceed the available power for the PSE. So the association cannot be made. Now the same would happen if the PD that I was trying to associate didn't meet the PoE standard for that port as well. It'd say, nope, if this can't happen, pick another port. So that really, in a nutshell, is our new PSE view. This can be exported. And we also did a report for this. So let's go here. I think it's under here. I have a lot of, oops, sorry, that opened on my other screen. PoE items here, and we can run and close this, but also I want to show you there are settings on which devices show on here. Let's go to report settings. This is a new link, by the way, that you can open report settings right from when you're running reports to save you having to close out of there, get out of there. So here down to PoE. Which PoE items do you want to display on the report, associated or unassociated or all? And then, by the way, you can also just change this back color here on the reports. This in the utility settings, you can change this here. On the report, you can change it here if you want to show the associated PDs in a different background color. But let's run that and finish up this demonstration of PoE. Hopefully this will open on this monitor. No. Why would it do that? And there you go. You can see this is basically most of the same information that's in the grid, a little bit less because of the space we have here. But of course, this is a report that is in the software, so you can customize this. You can create any PoE report that you want showing your PSEs and PDs. So that's our new PoE feature. Pretty excited about that. And just going to mention that this was our first, go at a networking calculator. So the next step will be just to maybe not limit it to PoE, and you can basically do all of your networking needs through SI. But that's something we will look at in the future. We want to see how this does and see how everyone responds to this. All right. Let's go here. Our next feature, let's go and talk about a QuickBooks Time import. That a few versions ago, we added timesheets to System Integrator. It's been a pretty popular feature, but since we released, of course, and we wanted to do it when we released, was have an integration with QuickBooks Time, because we know a lot of you use that. It's a great timekeeping tool, and you get a lot of features in there for your technicians in the field when they're out on the app recording their time. But there was no link to bring that back into System Integrator, where a lot of the other timesheets for projects are occurring. If you are doing your job costing and revenue recognition reports and all those features that we added a few releases ago. So if you do want to integrate to QuickBooks Time, you do now have that option. I'd like to first just take you, I know, to the settings, but it's important. I want to show you what we did here. So I'll go to QuickBooks Time, and I'll open this one. I'm already connected. I already set it up. So there's a setup process. It's all documented. You'll have to go into QuickBooks Time and add an API integration out there for us. It's quite simple, but you just have to follow the instructions and then map your keys. But what I really want to show you here is what we set up to try to make this easier on you when you are importing these. If you do want to use this, is timesheets in SI need to be assigned to an entity, which is either a project, a task, a service server, or a company, your company, which are the non-billable timesheets. it also needs to be assigned an entity number. Essentially, what project number is that? What task number? What service order number is that? So we know what to associate them with, again, for job costing and revenue recognition and all those other reports. So those are very much required. And then if you really want to be granular, which many of you do, you also want to assign a phase to your timesheet. So we have all those fields already in SI for that when we need those fields. But what we wanted to help you out here is if you want to, and you're not using all of your custom fields out in QuickBooks Time, I think you only get 6 of them. I'm almost certain of that, 6 only. You could map at least to these 2 some custom fields over in QuickBooks Time just to help you when you're importing these in. You have your technicians in the field, enter whether it's a project, task, or service order. And I'll just show you very quickly in QuickBooks Time. Want to go to here under feature add-ons, custom fields. You can see I set these 3 up. I didn't end up using them in my example, but I set up entity number, and phase. And notice this is a list item. So if I take this one, you'll see in my list here, pull down this list here. Sorry, I've got a company, project, service order, and task, the 4 that match directly in SI. I also did the same for my phases. I just did a simple list here: finish, programming, rough in, and trim. But obviously, your phase list will be greater than that. And then the SI entity number I left just as a text field. Your technicians would need to fill that in on their timesheets manually, but the other ones they could pull from a drop down. Totally optional, everyone. Not to get off track, but those are our settings to make it easier, because other than that, once you're connected, what you'll do is in our Timesheet Explorer, which is this one here, right next to the CSV import, we have a QuickBooks Time import. So you'll click that, it'll go read QuickBooks timesheets. And again, let me drag this over. And here you can see this is our team that was doing some testing on this very recently, in fact, where we have a list of timesheets that have not yet been imported. You can see that they are inadequate, as we say, because it's missing a project, task, service order, company, and it's also missing a resource assigned to that. Now, regarding resources, we do need a resource assigned to this, but if your resource list, which is in our software names, if the name matches the names in QuickBooks Time, we'll automatically know that and be mapped to them. But again, I have different lists here because, again, this is our team testing this. So I'd have to map it to one of my resources, whoever I'm importing. But as you can see with all the inadequate data here, when you go to import this, we're going to say, okay, well, what project is this for? What project number is that for? And then if you wanted to, you could assign a phase. So it's a really good idea if you want to use this to set up those custom fields, if you can, if you're not already using them for something else. But it's just that simple. You come out here, you select the ones you want to import, and they'll import into SI. Now, each time you go to import, you can overwrite imported timesheets as long as they haven't been approved. Those are the ones that we're going to lock down and say, nope, you've already approved this in SI. You're not able to overwrite that when you re-import from QuickBooks Time. And obviously you have permissions on who can do that. Okay, so that was exciting there, the QuickBooks Time. At least I think so. I want to go back now to projects. Let's just go here and talk a little bit here about some of the changes that we will. Actually, I want to talk about purchase orders for service orders, but I came back to projects for that, just to show you that it's an overall change throughout SI. The big deal here, or the big feature, I should say, is that service order items added to a service order, historically have never been able to be added to a purchase order in SI. So there's always been a disconnect. Many of our users even integrate to QuickBooks, but they still create the POs in SI to track them here, and it makes sense to do that. But we didn't have the feature for service orders. And just background, we recognize that we should have had it, but we had an architecture change that needed to be made, and it was a big one. So that's why it took a while, but we did it this release. So you can now create POs for service order items. But while we were doing that, we ended up changing a bunch of things about purchase orders that we found might be useful to you. So what I want to show you here is I'm simply going to create a new purchase order, and we will get to the part where you can get create them for service order items, but there's a lot other cool stuff in here to see. So here's a new purchase order. Just stretch it out a little bit. One feature that we added is when you pick a vendor here at any point, but let's say I pick my vendor immediately here, it's going to warn me if I have any draft purchase orders for this vendor already. Because you can see in this view, I wouldn't know that necessarily. I'm in the projects view, not the purchase order explorer. So this is letting me know that, hey, you've got some draft purchase orders out there. So would you like to edit one of those rather than create a new one? Now, you probably shouldn't have 5 draft purchase orders to the same vendor like I do. But one, you might, maybe 2. But basically it warns you, hey, if you quit now, all the information on this one will be lost and we'll let you pick a PO. So for now, if I say yes, it's going to show me my 5 draft POs that I didn't cull before the demo. So we'll skip that part, but that's a new feature there. Let's go straight to the items tab. Very different look here. Again, because we added service orders as an option here. So as you know, purchase orders aren't specific to any single project, or they don't have to be, I should say. They can be, but you don't have to. In fact, they don't have to be or associated with just projects. In this case now, you can create a purchase order to a vendor from all the items from a project that you need from them, any open service orders, as well as from your catalog. You've always had this option. And but since we added service orders, we decided to tab these out and then make a list here. So it's very easy to see which project you're selecting from at any given time. And then we also added a summary tab here to show you everything. Regardless of whether it's a project, service order, catalog, here's everything on this purchase order. So again, you can, when you go to add service orders, it's going to ask you to pick which service orders we want to choose. We added a new concept here to SI as well, which are pre-filter settings. Now, it's kind of a new concept in the sense that we give you the settings here for your pre-filters for these. It's just if you want to change your order status to only show certain order status. In this case, I might want to see only ones that are in progress, for instance. So it'll just pre-filter your list when you're viewing which service orders you're selecting. We did the same thing for projects as well, and I'd like to show that. When we go here to add projects, you can see there's a pre-filter setting here for all of the project statuses that you want to see. I might want anything from 1 down to change order pending, where I might be ordering, right, out of all in my current list. So you can do that. I left them blank here, and yours on upgrade will be blank, but you can set those if you want, or you cannot. You don't have to use them. I know our users have mixed opinions on pre-filtering, especially when we force it. We learned that last version and we removed some long-standing features in the software, but we've added these in case you want to use them. We also added pre-filters when you're adding items. So we'll start there too. When I go to add project items, we made another improvement here with the summarizing units. When you did summarize before, we always showed you a list over here of your vendors, so you could easily filter to either the chosen vendor or whoever you want to order from. In the other view, we did not do that in the units. It was just a grid before, so we added the same setting over here to make it make more sense, if you will. We also added pre-filters when you're adding items here for the status of the item. So these are your order statuses, whether it's not ordered, ordered, or in stock received. Which ones do you want to see here? It'll help clean up your list as you're adding items. So a lot of enhancements there that I just showed. I'm going to select, let me see what I have here. Let's see if I can add these. Okay. I'm trying to see if I can find something maybe with a price. You know what I'm going to do? Bear with me. We'll just save and close that one real quick. Let me go up to this project where I'm pretty sure I can find some differences. What I want to show you here is the new feature where if I add items to a project, if I add items from a project, that's what I meant to say, or service order for that matter, to a purchase order, and the cost inside of the project is different than what's in your catalog, we're going to prompt you. So let's see if I can find some items in here. Okay, these should be different. Right, there's your prompt. So these have a different cost. There's my catalog unit cost and there's my project unit cost. And you can decide, it's automatically checked to use the catalog unit cost, all of them. And you can decide if you want to update that or not. Maybe there's a reason that, hey, in that project, nope, this cost is locked down and we're going to keep that. Or nope, that cost has changed since, sorry, we approved this project. This is a good comparison for you. So that just little heads up there, and we'll go ahead and add those, and then added my catalog price. So those are the new features that we've added here for purchase orders. The last one being under workflow rules, we've added reminders for purchase orders as well. So you can set a reminder. It'll take you there real quick. Since we're demoing this, let's go to workflow rules. Let's go to purchase order new. And there's a reminder here for the requested delivery date in X amount of days and whether the requested delivery date has passed. So we enhance that as well. So that's usually what happens when we start looking at a feature where the main feature we wanted to do while changing that architecture was allow you to create purchase orders from service order items. We just found a bunch of other stuff to change as well that hopefully will improve your purchase order experience. Okay, I am now going to talk about some other new features here. Let's pull up another, there's a sample project. That's a good one to look at. Some other things that we added, some other enhancements here, just quick project improvements, but they'll have a big impact hopefully on your business. We added subsystems. Just like you can have a hierarchy here for locations, we now allow one level, mind you, one level of subsystems in this initial release where you can come here and add, let's see if I have any, I do have some set up here. Yep, access control, door locks, gates. So you can have subsystems now inside of a project should you choose to, and at any point you can, promote and demote, very similar to what we have up here, but you are limited to 2 levels deep, if you will, or 1 level deep, or no, 2 levels, yeah, the top and your sub. So kind of a big feature. And as you see when you're adding here, it's either a system or a subsystem. It's all one big global list of systems as far as we're concerned mostly, but we do show the hierarchy out there, and you can add really anything you want as a system or a subsystem and then promote or demote it as needed. And then you can export these configurations and share with others. So that was a pretty big deal there, and that did affect one feature I should show you, and that's calculated items. I don't have any in this project, so let me add a new product, and I'll show you. It's just us really because we added a subsystem feature. Us needing to consider that when you have a calculated item is what we changed. So, sorry, calculated, change calculation. And we'll click here, and I just want you to see something here. When you're choosing current system, now you can either do current system or also include the subsystems. If you're at a top level and it happens to have subsystems, you could include their values in your calculation should you choose to do that. So also this current parent item, that's a new setting here for calculated items. We found an issue where, especially with solutions, numbers were getting massive because it was calculating off of multiple parents, and it was kind of doing a loop thingy, but not quite a bug. So we added a feature here. Somebody may have a use case for that. Someone did. But current parent item will be a default now. It makes sense. Just makes sense. Any existing items won't be touched, but that's a new one for all new items. Wanted to mention that while we're there. We also had an explicit field for location number, just kind of long overdue. A lot of you were using the abbreviation for this in the past. In fact, this is an old project, and you can see I don't have project numbers in here. I've put that there. So a newer project, let's go there. Where are you at here? Let's go here. So you can see the numbers here, 001 dash and the names. But when I look here, you can see there's the 001 here, but the actual name is Office 1. So we automatically put the number space dash space and then the name. There's a report setting on whether you want that to display on your reports or not. so you don't have to. But it's a new setting there, so it's a new way to, just a new field basically. You don't have to use your abbreviation anymore for the number or put it directly in the name. It was a request, so we said we could do that. Now, because of those changes we just made too, there's also some other changes made to the component ID format. Obviously, we have system and subsystem out here now. But what we also changed is, prior to this, when you would choose location, we always use the abbreviation. We never use the name. Now that we added number, we gave you a lot of location options. So we have locations 1 through 5. Now you can either choose its abbreviation, its name, or its number in your component ID format. And I mentioned systems and subsystems are there. Either the abbreviation or the name. We also reviewed this list, and this was actually brought up by one of our users who said, we're missing custom fields out here, because over the years we've added custom fields to projects and products, quite a few, mind you, and we never really updated this field. And we also limited you on which type of fields you could choose from here for custom fields. So now we've added every available field that makes sense for custom fields. You can see it starts there and just goes down, and then there's your project fields. So even the list ones are there. So we just got even more flexible on component ID format. We added a rounding option here. Don't worry, guys, we're going to get some other exciting stuff too. But prior to this, you could always round your unit your unit price in a project to clean that up. But now, when you choose this, you also have the option to apply that to your net unit price. That's your price with discount. And then we added cost here. That was a request to be able to round your cost in a project. Okay. And then apply to the unit cost with tax if you're using use tax. So anyhow, that's there. And real quickly, in the item summary view, I'm just going to go here. Item summary view, you can now display allowances and bundled cable. You couldn't do that before. They'll list at the bottom there. If you close a scope of work without saving it, will prompt you. Prior to this, let's see, what am I at? Oh, was this rich text format? Sorry. Let me see. Or am I read only? Wait, there we go. If I close out of this, are you sure you want to cancel? It's a simple thing, but boy, we heard about it, how much this messes people up. They come here and edit and they don't hit save and they accidentally hit escape or cancel out of that. Are you sure you want to cancel? Yes. Okay, 2 more things, and then I'm going to move on to change order changes, which are pretty cool. But really, don't get scared. The whole functionality works the same. It's just better views and reporting. But I do want to show you some things outside of a project back in the Project Explorer. And that is, I check for phase differences when you're cloning or importing a project. So let's see. I'll try this project. Actually, let me think. I'm going to clone it. Another clone option here is to include items on pending change orders if you want to. We were currently automatically doing that for you, but some of you may not want to put pending items. So if I had pending items, you'd see that option lit up. But as we do this, let's see. Bear with me while I drag this over, create a name. I'll keep a copy, save it, and I don't need the drawings. There's the prompt I was getting to. Your project has 4 phases with rates that are different than what is in your catalog, and 8 phases in your catalog that don't exist in the project. Would you like to review these phases? Sure. So what this is showing me basically is, this is the new column here. So these don't exist in my project. I could add them if I want to, but I have different rates here. And this is great. Obviously it can work for when you're importing a project too, if you're collaborating with other integrators and you're pulling in projects. But really, when you're cloning a project internally, it might be something you did a month ago and you want to clone it because there's a similar system. We check for pricing differences now as of our last release, but now we want to check for phases in this one because that could have changed. Your labor rates could have changed, especially in this day and age, that quickly. It can happen. So that just gives you the option of whether you want to update from catalog or not. Last but not least, before I move over to some other features that involve change orders, is the ability to set up required fields for projects. So I can't tell you, because I forget these days, how many versions ago we set up for new projects required fields. So you can't create a new project unless you enter these mandatory fields. Well, many of you wanted that for approved project as well. So we did that. Very similar. What fields do you want to require that your users have before a project gets approved? These are the only two that we added that aren't in the new project. The budget must be more than, I think we added these, or maybe it's this one, but very similar. And any of your custom fields. So pretty nice, because that was a nice, easy win, quick feature, because we had something similar already in the software. Good request, whoever put that in. So, okay, I want to talk about change orders. Again, one of our most popular features, we revamped change orders years ago. Made a whole new change order system where we used to work with just comparing revisions. Now we have this great, robust system, and we keep getting more and more requests for like a change order history that shows the details, and we added that a few releases ago. Again, maybe 3 or 4, but here's a change order history. But one of the things that we always only showed in our change order history here were your approved change orders. Well, the project, the original project, the current project, and then all approved change orders. But our users want to see pending change orders. You wanted to see all these other statuses. So now, when you open this view, let me just going to expand it like this. You can include internal change orders, rejected change orders, and pending change orders. So I'll go ahead and select everything now. Now you see my full list from down here. And that can be shown in your view. And of course, this can be exported to Excel or PDF. So very cool little features there. But this is really what I wanted to show you is we've had a long time request to be able to add more functionality for change orders in our standard report designer, where you can create your own custom reports that have change order fields. And so we did that in this release. And I'm going to show that for any of our stock reports in this release, like that's proposals and line item details and quotes, basically ones that show or that are proposals or line item reports. Down here, you'll see the option to include change order history. And if you want to, at the end, before the signature, though, we'll show you the history of the change orders for this, just the what's changed, basically, not the items, but the pricing differences. And I'll show you these change order settings, which are also in report settings, but this is specifically, we'll open report settings to show you what we added here. When you're running these reports, you can choose whether, again, are we doing approved, rejected, pending, and internal? Yes or no. And again, these are the defaults, I think, or I've been messing with these. I don't remember. I don't know if we have pending usually, but you'll see your defaults when you upgrade. And then you can set these as needed, before you run this report. And I'll go ahead and run this for you so you can see the change order history at the end. And again, keep in mind, this is a sub-report, this change order history that we've added to these reports, but there also is an explicit change order history report out there on its own. Here, let me go to the end. So there's your little summary of change orders right here at the end of the report. But sorry, what I was saying before, I described that as somewhere in here we have change order history, and that's just that section of the report on its own. So the big deal there is, hey, these exist out here now in the standard report designer. You can update those, customize those to your needs and find the nodes that you want out there and what you need to see. Okay, I know we are running out of time here, and we're going to have some Q&A. So real quickly, when you're publishing tasks or service orders, I do want to show this. You have an option of whether or not you want to notify the resources. So the reason for this is oftentimes you may publish a task or service order to mobile install, and your techs get the notification. A little bit later, you realize, oh, no, I need to add something to that. And you add it, and they get notified again. And then you make another quick little change that has nothing to do with the scheduling of when they need to be there or that they need to see right now. And they're getting constantly updated via email. So now you have an option when you're publishing to, let me just open one of these up, on whether or not you want to notify the resource is what it says. So bear with me because it keeps opening over here. This will pull up the little notify form, and there it is, notify resources. It's checked by default, but if it's one of those scenarios where you don't want to remind them of, or you don't need them to see the change you just did, uncheck it. Another thing you can do when you're creating service orders and service plans now is to include archived products in the list. That was a big deal for a lot of you, and it makes sense because you've archived your project, but a service call comes in a year after it's been archived, or a service plan for that matter expires a year after, or 2 years, and you want to create a new one. You would have to go unarchive the project, create the service plan or the service order, and then when you're done, remember to archive that project back. You don't have to do that anymore. Just include that, and we'll show it in the list. And last but not least, as really Tim mentioned earlier in his view, we can now display accessories in mobile install. So that's pretty exciting. It's a big step forward. It's something we've always been limited with out here. And I'll just show you on the items tab, little plus sign here. You can see that these are the accessories to that item, and there are expand all and collapse all options here. This was never an option before. You could put the item with its accessories out here, but they would never list together, and you wouldn't know they were associated, so it was confusing. So we did accessories in this version. Hopefully, in the future, we may do packages. We'll see about, again, we start nesting in here with solutions, packages. We'll see. We might have to change our interface a bit, but for now, you can see accessories associated with their parent items out here. And that concludes my demonstration of the major new v19 features. I'm sure there's many more up there, and go ahead and check out our documentation, the v19 release notes, and we will embed the video of this recording, like I said, either later tonight or tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.